All right, we are back and we're getting through the other half of the Western Conference. We just finished up the Lakers, so we're going to now move on to the Memphis Grizzlies. Last year, 56 and 26. This year, the over under for them is 48 and a half games. So Vegas has them winning 7 less games, essentially. That's where the money is than they did last year. Mo and we're going to start with you. Where do you think the Grizzlies finish up this year?
Yeah, this is another one that I really struggled with. I ended on the under again, not a lot of confidence because like just like you said, I think to myself like, are they really going to win like 7 fewer games, 8 fewer games than they won last year? But then like I also think that it was almost kind of like a flash in the pan how good they were last year. Like, are they going to like Jaw hasn't really seemed to be able to stay healthy for a full season, and like, are they really going to win? Are they going to go 20-5 without Ja again this
Yeah, I
year?
mean that's the big question is can a team recreate those without Jaw results?
Yeah, and like
Was
they're
that
already
team better without him or was it who they played? Like that's
may
it's such
I
a
mean
big question.
because defensively there's a legitimate argument that well not even argument they're better.
They are better
Yeah,
defensively when he's not on
it's
the
yeah
court, but does that make up for what they give up offensively?
exactly. And like yeah, you can beat the bad teams without him. You give up 80 points, like that's fine. But like they're already missing or not missing, but Jared Jackson Jr. is already hurt. Like he
Mm.
broke his foot out 4 to 6 months as of June, I think is what it was. So like maybe he'll come back at the end of the year, at the end of the calendar year, I should say.
I'm back around
Um,
Christmas.
That's another
yes,
guy that's had a lot of injury. Because I remember the first like playoff
meniscus.
run when, yeah, because he was a guy that I remember being like, man, this guy JJJ is a beast. If he actually played, like they would have had a shot. And he's just a guy that's consistently hurt. So just his durability issues are a concern for this team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and his
definitely.
shooting, he was amazing the COVID year. Like thought shot 39% and then has been horrible the rest of his career. So you figure it's almost like Anthony Davis. He like the bubble almost skewed how people view him as a shooter because of how good he was. But yeah, I landed under like trading away D'Anthony Melton hurts. Like I like their draft, but again, 2 rookies. So I don't know. Like again, it was tough, but like last year, they're almost like they were a year early, which is so much fun.
Yeah,
Getting the year early, like the Cavs were this year, but like they talk a lot of shit. They're very brash, so they're gonna get teams' best shot next year more so than they did last year. So
sure.
maybe they win 48 games in a deeper West. But again, it was tough for me. But I landed on under.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tarantino?
I think Vegas has it right. I mean, I'm similar to this team, just seeing what the over under was because they were 56 last year. I think like 48 and a half is kind of perfect. I would put them, I'll say over and go 49 just because I mean, like you said, Ja Morant was their best player. Yeah, barely over, but Ja was their best player. He missed a lot of games and they still won. I think that just like Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bain both stepping up last year was huge. Those guys, like, there's a while where Desmond Bain just like wasn't missing. Like
Yeah.
In the
those guys,
playoffs, he saved them.
yeah, they were Warriors esque to like a degree watching them, just like how they moved the ball and how much shooting that they had, and they played great team defense. I mean, that's why I think the West will be better overall this year, which is why I think Vegas kind of knew that ahead of time with this team. But I kind of pegged them around that they're still going to be a playoff team. They're still going to be one of the better teams in the West. I just don't. They're not going to be, with the Clippers, with the Nuggets at the end of the season. If things go well with the Warriors up top there, but I still think they'll be a good team this year and be a fun team to
Yeah,
watch.
they're not going to be a top. They're not going to be the 2 seed again. Like, I'm
I
almost
almost put
guaranteed.
Yeah, they won't be the 2 seed again. I was just gonna say, like, I kind of looped them in before the Jazz this year, which they're gonna implode. But it's like the Jazz and Nuggets were always that tier of West team where it's like really good team, but they're never gonna win it that year. Like they're not gonna beat the Spurs, they're not gonna beat the Lakers. Like they're really good, but they're not gonna go past the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
That's kind of where I see this team this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't have any strong disagreements here. I'm going to take the under. I think this is still a very good team, but I think injury concerns are going to be a major problem for them, even though it is a lot of young guys, missing JJJ for part of the year. I think Ja Morant, my biggest fear, and I think it's a fear that is shared by a lot of people, is that he goes the route of Derrick Rose. And
Ugh.
I think we can already kind of see it adding up. the way he plays and the reckless style, the way he throws himself into guys and the way he lands. I'm just waiting for the big one where he's just going to miss the rest of the season. I do think they're going to be a good team, and I think they're the kind of team that is likely going to be better than their record. And they're not going to be a top seed, but they might win, 46, 47 games, sneak into the playoffs, particularly now that we have the play-in. And they might make it a couple rounds into the playoffs. But I think last year may have been a little bit too much too soon for this team. They were incredible, but I don't think it's the kind of incredible pace that they'll be able to keep up. Like I don't look at this team the way that I looked at the Warriors last decade, or the way the Suns feel right now, or the Bucks or the Celtic. Like they just don't feel like they're quite as good as last year's record indicated. And I think we kind of saw that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
No, sorry. No, go for it.
No, I'm just going to say I'm taking the under. I think they're going to get there, assuming they keep this core together. Tons of talent, well coached, well built roster. The question about Ja offense versus defense is a real one, but I'm taking the under.
Yeah, I mean, if the mentally weak Timberwolves don't shit their pants in like 3 playoff games last year, they probably beat the Grizzlies in that series.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember watching that with you, GQ. That was a fun series. I remember being like, this might be my favorite playoff series to watch, and it was the first one. And just watching Anthony Edwards go back and forth.
I think it was one of the most. I think there was a lot of bad playoff series last year. I think it was one of the most fun playoff series, unless you were a Wolves fan.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you had Cat having either like an 8-point game or like a 35-point game, and you had the Grizz either like completely relying on Ja or Ja like shooting them out of games. Like
Desmond Bane saving them.
Desmond Bane just having ice in his veins. Yeah, there were some very interesting games in that series. We'll get to the Timberwolves very shortly.
T-Wolves next.
Yeah. Let's no better transition than that. Let's move on to the Timberwolves. Vegas has them at 47.5, right above where they were last year at 46 and 36. Obviously, there was the big offseason addition of Rudy Gobert.
I guess Vegas doesn't like Gobert too much. Game and a half.
Very surprisingly, considering he is generally considered a regular season great. Modi, let's have you start with this one. Where do you see him landing?
Yeah, I have them going over. I absolutely love clowning the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just love clowning the Minnesota sports teams in general. I mean, it's so easy, but
there's so much to do. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the only issue that I have with it, and I do it all
the
time.
Easy.
It's a little too easy.
It's low hanging fruit for sure.
It's like beating up a little kid. Like, it's really easy to do, but like you're gonna feel worse afterwards.
Should we? Well, I feel pretty good about it sometimes.
Okay, all right, cool. Don't raise children, or do.
But regardless, they'll be a good regular season team. Like Gobert's he's gonna win in the regular season. I think for a regular season, him and Karl Anthony Towns will be a good pairing. I don't think that'll work in the playoffs, but we're not giving playoff over-unders. And I love Anthony Edwards. I do think the depth that they lost, I think, is going a little bit overlooked. Like Jared Vanderbilt was legitimately important for that team. Patrick Beverley, legitimately important for that team. Yeah, like probably more important than he should have been. But like, I mean,
I think the second most impactful defender in the NBA over the past like 5 years, despite being a guard.
And even from like a mental makeup, which is hard to, you really can't quantify that at all. But the team that's, again, been incredibly mentally weak for the entirety of Karl Anthony Towns' career, getting clowned by Jimmy Butler, that whole saga. Like needed someone,
all the bench players and beat you guys in practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Needed someone like Patrick Beverley to give them some energy there. But
that dog got that dog in him.
Got that dog in him. I hope Karl Anthony Towns sacks up. I don't know. He's like been so frustratingly soft his entire career. So you hope that he can sack up, but regardless, for the regular season, I think they'll be good. And I love my guy, Anthony Edwards. Absolute stud.
Is there a more iconic photo of an all NBA player getting bitched, even though he ended up, and this is the funny part about it, he ended up getting the bucket anyways, than DeMarcus Cousins standing just like straight up and Karl Anthony Towns trying to lower his shoulder into him and just looking like a little kid trying to fight his dad?
It's a great meme.
Just an unbelievable photo. clearly their careers have gone in different directions.
Yeah.
But that's how I think of Karl Anthony Towns.
100%.
Absurdly talented. Is the mentality there? Does he have that dog in him?
He does not. He's got the cat in him.
So yeah, I think that nickname did some damage to him.
Yeah, I call him Kitty.
I think Anthony Edwards is that dude though. I think Karl Anthony Towns is very important to their team, but I think if it shifts to Ant being the guy there, like where he's the one carrying and determining whether or not they win or lose, because you're right, like Karl Anthony Towns swinging from 35 points to 8 points, like that was the game there. But I think Rudy Gobert's defensive presence, like just having someone else there, like, yeah, maybe Towns, like if they do run those twin tower lineups, plays more of a power forward, doesn't really have to give the effort on defense and can be kind of a bitch, like, and it works out for their team.
Yeah.
But then it seemed like Anthony Edwards just took timely shots, always looked calm, has that explosive play, but like
he has superstar potential.
Games, like whenever they needed a bucket to stop a run, like he just hit like a fadeaway three, just like the timely shots. I think he's gonna have a really good career, and maybe this season making the leap to be like one of those guys people are talking about MVP discussion.
It's funny looking back on Anthony Edwards, because one of my misses, I was not high on him in the draft because there's so much talk about him not caring about basketball.
And he talked about not caring about basketball.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, a lot of that came from him.
Yeah. So in my head,
I was like, he's just always having fun, and we didn't know that.
Yeah, and I fell for it. I was like, this guy, he's going to be a bust. Like he was okay in college. But he was more of like he played running back. That was his like role with Georgia. He was a running back. But yeah, I mean that's an L there. But yeah, anyways, I just thought that was funny. Like looking at him now, which like that like every like joke people make about someone that like got that dog in him, like wants to be the guy. It's just funny looking back at what we said about him pre-draft.
Yeah, definitely. Ferentinos, I might have missed it. Did you have over under 47.5?
For the Wolves, I'm taking over on that.
You're taking the over?
Be a good team. I think I was kind of joking where it's like, oh, the Gobert is only worth a game and a half to them, but I do think that healthy Timberwolves team, I think they're motivated. I think they're building on something, and I think that they kind of realize that now, and that's why they were aggressive in getting Gobert. So I'm bought in on the spookiness. I want to see a good season.
Yeah, the spooky Wolves are back. I'm on the same page as you. I'm smashing the over. This might be the one that I am the most smashing the fuck out of it. I think Rudy Gobert, I think they might be 10 games over this prediction.
Nigel Thornberry this one.
I think regular season Rudy Gobert.
that joke good. Cannot go. Yeah.
That's a good joke.
Yeah.
Matt Ferentinos. Gotta get you a better mic so we can catch those better.
We were talking about smashing. I thought we were going back to the load management.
Oh, we're back to Roads. We'll talk
yeah, that's it. But no, we're going Nigel
sponsored by Pornhub.
Yeah. No, we're going Nigel Thornberry.
Nigel Thornberry, yeah, to get back to the animated characters Matt's into. I think this look, I'm not saying this Minnesota team's gonna win the title. But I think in the regular season, tell you they're going to be fucking nasty.
I agree. Well, I don't know about 10 games over. That you're putting them in like one seed
I'm
range.
I'm going to say 55 games. I think they're winning 55 games. 8 games over. 7.5 games over.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. They're going to be a good. I mean, I think this is the second one we've agreed on. The Timberwolves and Nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess,
the Clippers.
Yeah, because you took, or was it the Clippers? No, Fiorentino took under for the Clippers.
Oh, this is the first one that all three of us are taking. Yeah. I think maybe we're on the same page. Yeah.
I think this one and the Nuggets are the only one that we agreed on.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Can't wait for the Timberwolves to be in the Eastern Conference in a year or two, and then we can do this in a very different way. Then they're going to have like 55 win seasons every year because I think the East right now.
I was going to say not anymore. 5 years ago, yeah.
5 years ago, the Wolves wish they were in the East.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. New Orleans Pelicans. Vegas has them at 43.5. Last year, they were 36 and 46. Got to remember, part way through the year, they got CJ McCollum and were on a much better pace than they were at the beginning of the year, where they were on track to be the worst team in NBA history. Ferentinos, we'll have you start. Thoughts? Where are they landing, and what do you think about this year's team?
I'm going to go I'm going to say they're going to win 45 games. I'm pretty bullish on the Pelicans. I've always loved CJ McCollum. As a short man that loves the ball, that was always one of those things that you see it. Like, I think he is one of the only players ever drafted at a Lehigh. So, forgot what division it was, but like I don't think players drafted like the second division or Division II basketball like even sniff the pros. And like he was a shooting guard that was like 5'4" up until his junior year of high school, and then had his growth spurt. So like he's always had the ball skills.
Is
And
that
he's
why
always
you
one
were
of
a big
those.
fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But CJ's got that crossover, and he's one of those players that's like a shooting guard, offensively like leaning shooting guard that you think of as not really going to affect the win totals. Probably going to be like a guy stuck on the Rockets that puts up games but doesn't win. But he has a good impact on a team, and clearly they did that last year in the playoffs. Brandon Ingram, we were talking about a little during the break, like has always been a guy like he's a guy that can get so hot, and I'm not surprised when he goes off for 25 in the first quarter. I'm saying also, I'm not shocked when he disappears the rest of the game, but he has the talent to just go on those spurts. And if you can get that out of Ingram for a quarter, and then you have Zion Williamson back, you have CJ McCollum back, like this team was exciting last year without Zion being there. And now with Zion, who potentially has like a LeBron Shaq type impact on the team when healthy. And like we haven't really seen him have a chance to develop in the league too, just because of injuries. He hasn't really gotten the chance to do that. But I'm excited to see kind of what we're going to bring. He signed his max contract. I think he'll be motivated. And I think this is going to be, a really exciting team to watch. Speaking of League Pass, I'll be watching this team a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely a good League Pass team. Modi, thoughts on anything Matt said or Ferentino said, or where they're going to land on the over-under?
Yeah, I chose the over as well. Legitimately fun team. And to your point, Griffin, they started off the year 2-14, finished 34-32, and you can kind of forgive them for that start because like the beginning of the year, it was so weird what was going on with Zion. Like at first it was just like he's going to miss 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, they pushed it back another 2 weeks. And then it was like end of the calendar year. And then obviously he didn't end up playing. So you can kind of like, you can forgive them for that slow start. But like talented team, I think in terms of like CJ McCollum, in terms of just players that have a bag, like he's up there, like he's just got a bag of moves that I think makes him hard to guard. Defensively, obviously, he is where he struggles, and that's really ultimately why him and Dame never worked out because you just can't have two undersized guards in the backcourt. But with him surrounded by Ingram, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, Zion, like Valanciunas, it's enough strong defenders around him where you can kind of mask that, especially in the regular season. Like nobody hunts in the regular season like they do in the playoffs. So you can hide him in the regular season. So I went over. I think this could be a legitimately good team that could win like 48, 49 games. I wouldn't be surprised. But again, if Zion, like if he gets hurt again, he's out for the year or misses half the year, then this all could be for naught. But I'm high on this team. I'm with you. I like this Pelican squad.
Yeah. You know who last year's Pelicans team reminded me of a little bit? That 2016, 2017 Miami Heat team that unexpectedly lost Chris Bosh, and they were just losing games like the entire first half of the season. And then something happened around the trade deadline. I don't remember if they had acquired if they already had Dion Waiters on the team or
Waiters Island.
Yeah, well, it's like look, man, I'm always been on Waiters Island. I've got real estate on Waiters Island. But they ended up finishing 41-41 because their pace for the second half of the season was just blistering. They were fantastic.
Yeah,
but when you have that like weirdness of a star player potentially not playing or potentially coming back, like the team just can't gel.
Was that the year where they like started out like whatever, and then had the exact opposite happen in terms of record? Like they started 11 and whatever, then
they started 31-10, and I think they started 10-31, I think, and then finished
31-10.
31-10.
The exact inverse. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
To then finish 500. Like that was the thing, was that are they going to be able to hit 500? They won their last 3 games of the season, I think. They like just got there in time. And they just barely, if the play-in existed that year, they would have made it.
Yeah, they missed the seed. Yeah, I remember that. They missed the playoff. I remember that was like an emotional Spoelstra press conference at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because they missed the playoffs. But yeah, I can see that. That's not a bad comp.
Yeah, that's just who I thought about a little bit last year, like as things were happening for the Pelicans. This year, I think it's another one we all agree on. I'm going over as well. I think the return of Zion, huge deal. There aren't enough good things that we can say about that dude when he is actually on the court. Just superbly talented player. One of the best finishers under the rim. Like,
yeah, he's only ever been elite when he stepped on a basketball court.
Yeah, if he plays 60 games, I'm thinking they're winning the majority of those 60. And if he misses the other 22, they're still probably going to go around 500 in those other 22. Like they're going to be a very good team, and they already like were a good team once they had the pieces that they have currently. I think Vegas is being a little down on them, maybe because that's I assume where the money's going to come in. But I have high hopes for the Pelicans this coming year.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. That's 2 in a row.
I think we might be in agreement on this next one too. We're going to move on to the OKC Thunder. Modi, I'm going to let you start with this one. We were shitting on them a little bit before we got started today. They are at 23 and a half games. Last year they were 24 and 58. Where they ended up this year?
Actually, I was legitimately surprised. I didn't realize they won 24 games. That's good for them. I'll read you my hard-hitting analysis of my notes. Under, period, next.
Honestly,
that's all I got. I mean, like even with a healthy Chet, I was probably taking the under. Now you can best believe I am taking the under.
Yeah, for the note sheet that we put together for this and for the audience, Modi went out of his way to put together an over-under sheet for us with strength of schedule, last year's record, notable additions and subtractions. What I put under notable anything was nope, continuing to tank, Chet Holmgren missing the whole season.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of how we feel about this team, Ferentinos, I will let you respond if you do think they're going to have an over. Maybe you think they're going to beat that.
No, I mean, they're going under. I just think Josh Giddey is fun to watch. So I mean,
I think the whole team's fun to watch.
Yeah,
I think they're a fun to watch bad basketball team.
They always draft good young talent. I mean, ever since it's Presti, right? Ever since Presti's been there.
Presti.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
the man who should get the credit that Danny Ainge gets.
Yeah. I saw a funny clip on Danny Ainge the other day of him pegging someone with the basketball. Everyone talked about it. He was like such an asshole
like throwing a basketball at them? Not like
not other pegging.
The like discussion earlier really did some damage.
Yeah, that's a ball.
That's my bad. That's on me. Okay, so you're taking the under for them or the over?
I'm taking the under. Okay. I mean, they're gonna be fun. Like they're one of those teams that you're like, oh, like that dude's good. Like on another team, like literally, how many teams do you say SGA would be a good fit on every team? Like, it sucks that he's on OKC.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Lou Dort. I love Lou Dort. He's great.
Good players. A lot of good players on the team. They're just not there yet. And the team is specifically designed to lose right now because when they are winning in games, they're going to sit their best guys.
It's exactly what they did past 2 years. Yeah.
I'm taking the under as well. We're all in agreement on this one. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. No. If we have any OKC fans listening right now or watching,
sorry,
tell us why we're wrong. We're sorry. We think your team is going to be fucking nasty in a few years, but you got to, like, your top picks have to play basketball.
Yeah, I would imagine
the Sixers all over again.
Yeah, I'd imagine those OKC fans are watching a lot of Lana Rhoades tape to get them through the past couple.
I actually think what I remember, because they do this in the RNBA sub sometimes. I think OKC and Utah are at the top of the RNBA like list for members that also subscribe to porn subs on Reddit. And I think both areas are usually at the top of the Pornhub rankings at the end of the year.
You need another account for that. I mean,
they just don't understand burner accounts.
They're not educated.
Tell it on yourselves a little bit right now, guys. Like, God, just like don't subscribe to things. Use the search bar. Unimportant. Let's move on. Next team up, the team that spiraled out in the worst way possible last year, maybe the most embarrassing fashion. The Phoenix Suns. Vegas has them at 53.5. Last year they were 64 and 18. Modi, since we didn't talk about the Thunder all that much, I'm going to let you start again here. Where do you see this team ending up?
Yeah, I kind of feel similarly to like when I was looking at the Memphis one. Like you're telling me they're going to win 11 fewer games than last year with roughly, I mean, not even roughly, pretty much the same
essentially
exact team.
The same team.
Yeah.
The same exact team, but like it's just one of those things where you can't repeat a magical year 2 years in a row. Like something is going to happen. They're going to have. I mean, I guess they did have
unless you get Kevin Durant.
Yeah, unless you get Kevin Durant.
In which case you ruin
that. Is magical. I mean, they did have injuries last year, and they just kept on winning. They have a good replicatable system that will win them games. But like those Game 7 scars stick with the team. It reminds me of like the Clippers just had so many scars with the Chris Paul, DJ, Blake Griffin, Doc Rivers teams. I mean, granted, they were always winning in the regular season, but they always seem sad. Like there's just a sadness surrounding the team that I'm kind of
there was bad chemistry, which this DeAndre Ayton stuff feels like it's going to be a major factor.
a very weird, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Way they handled that situation just to max him out, just to match the offer. I didn't really understand.
Ruin the relationship and give him the amount of money. I think maybe $1 or $2 million less than what they would have gotten like initially.
Yeah.
Like really, you had to save $1 or $2 million, and you're gonna potentially destroy this relationship, and you're gonna have like a Shaq leaving the Magic situation. Like,
yeah, it didn't make sense. And like sneaky, horrible ownership. The Suns, like they just admitted that they don't invest in a scouting staff for the NBA draft. They're just like that. Like they just willingly.
If Sarver was the owner of a team in a major market, and Phoenix is getting there. It's a very fast growing metropolitan area. But if he was in New York or Miami or LA, literally, like he would have been forced out. He's a Dan Snyder like guy.
Yeah, I mean they had that like whole whole sexual assault thing leak at the beginning of last year. They had like the one story someone from ESPN wrote, like there's like a goat shitting in the office or something. That
I didn't know that one, but yeah, no, the sexual assault stuff. There was talks about a lot of workplace harassment. Apparently, the culture's been bad there for 20 plus years. Like even on a basketball level, you're a team that like doesn't put the appropriate team around Steve fucking Nash. You have a 2-time MVP, and you're cheapening out on potentially winning him a title. Like what are you doing?
Yeah,
you'll make more money.
I know it doesn't. So like all in all, I lean towards the under. And actually, I lied. The Suns have the highest over under at 53.5.
They're one game over the other guys.
Yeah,
over the Clippers and the Warriors. I think is what it was. Yeah.
So I was wrong there. I went under. I just think that it's hard to come back from that type of that type of exit at home as the 1 seed, just getting absolutely curb stomped, and they've enough weird, horrible, bad ownership that. I think I love Monty Williams. I love Chris. Like everything about the Suns, I do like. I just think that they're going under.
Sure.
I think it's just from how many games they won last season. Like you talk about how nothing's really changed. Definitely getting mollywopped by Luka in the last game, and literally seeing one of my favorite clips on RNBA after that was like Chris Paul hits the 3 to cut the lead down to like 47 or something. It was just like so bad.
It's bad. It's bad.
I mean,
really bad.
Luka had more points than them at the half.
Yeah.
Or he had like 27 and they had 27 or something like that.
Some great memes came out of that series though. The meme of Luka smiling at I think it was Devin Booker. It's like iconic. Iconic.
Yeah.
Like LeBron puts on his rage face when he wants to bury you. Luka smiles in your face and fucks your bitch.
I was gonna say, the Booker and Chris Paul too laughing at the press conference when they're like, "How's Luka gonna play defense on you guys?" And they were just like, like whatever, like Luka sucks. Yeah. And then they come and they lose 6 and 7. Yeah, I mean, I think, but going back to just regular season, I think it's a pretty healthy over. I could see them getting 55. Yeah. As much as the mental scars we talk about, Chris Paul has maybe more mental scars than any player in the NBA. Like,
true.
I can't think about even when
that's
he hits
why
a game
he has
winner,
a split personality for Cliff Paul.
When he hits a game
that's
winner,
how he segments it.
Against the Spurs, they won that series, breaks his hand, can't play the next series, lose. Like, I think he's dealt with loss a lot. And literally, they have the same team. They have Chris Paul, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker. I read a lot about Bridges and all of the Suns' assets because they were one of the teams that were the heavy.
I love
favorites
Mikal
like
Bridges.
Kevin Durant. But I mean, they're deep, and Ayton got paid as much as like. Yeah, ownership is terrible. Like we read a lot of things. Like he still got his money. So I mean, if they're winning basketball, like I still think he's going to be an impact player. And like him, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, like they're still stacked. I could see them easily winning 55.
Winning does cure all. That's like the ultimate remedy. Winning.
Yeah,
sure, but playoff winning overtakes regular season winning by a lot. That is why I'm going to take the under. I think they're going to try and rest Chris Paul as much as possible this year. I think they'll likely have a lot of games where they're going to try and feed DeAndre Ayton and kind of have him be like a focal point on offense. Games that they might not necessarily win while they try and kind of redevelop their game plan around him to make him feel like he's a larger part of the team. I don't know if you guys have heard kind of the rumor about what happened with the Suns. I think Ryan Russillo might have talked about it a little bit.
Talking about Suns girl?
No, not that one.
The Instagram.
Yeah.
No, the popular rumor right now is that the NBA did not disclose it, but that a number of people on the team had COVID, particularly Chris Paul.
Like at the end of the during the
during
game
the
7.
playoffs. And
I mean, that would explain a lot of things.
It's
I did not
a
hear
theory.
that though.
It's a
I did
theory.
not hear that.
It's been they've been very quiet about it, but Russillo definitely like alluded to it in a podcast, and some people kind of were like, yeah, we heard similar things. We heard in particular like Chris Paul was having symptoms, but because of like where it was in the like they weren't going to cancel playoff games.
That's
Who
interesting. I
knows?
remember,
It seems like something the NFL would do a little bit more than the NBA, but
it
who's to
just
say?
seems like the Suns were that team that you looked at, and I remember reading stuff about like, oh yeah, the Suns don't go out. That Chris Paul holds them accountable. They like are the one team that tries to take it serious. Maybe there's a reason why they were pushing those articles out there at the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Entirely possible. Entirely possible. You know, it's again just
eye.
a conspiracy theory, but sometimes where there's smoke, there is fire. I do think they're going to probably rest a little bit more in the regular season this year. That's why I'm taking the under. I think they're going to try and maintain Chris Paul's legs as long as they possibly can, knowing that they've got him for, I think, 2 more years after this. They've got him until his age 40 season. So, you know, if you want him for a playoff run, you can't use him too much in the regular season. Taking the under. Let's move on to the Portland Trailblazers. Vegas has them at 39.5. Last year, they finished at 27-55. Not great for the Blazers, who, you know, thought that they were going to be Western Conference contenders year after year. A couple notable additions: Jeremy Grant, Gary Payton II. So some solid defensive players. Jeremy Grant, obviously a pretty decent offensive player as well.
Do love Grant.
Not the number one option that he thinks he is, but a good player. Ferentinos, we'll have you start. You see them hitting the over or the under?
Definitely under. I see them being like about 35 wins. I mean, the Blazers were a really fun team. Isn't what's his face still hurt though for the Blazers?
Nurkic?
Yeah, I feel like he's
I think so.
Perpetually hurt. And he's one of their superstars that I feel like is a big impact player. I remember he was hurt in one of their playoff series.
Oh, I don't know if he's hurt because I guess he's going to play in Eurobasket.
I was just gonna say I'm pretty sure he's healthy.
Yeah, I think he's good. My issue with Nurkic is not a health issue so much as the fact that he just doesn't play defense.
Yeah, he's
an offense first. He's kind of like a better version of Enes Kanter, where the offense kind of makes you feel like you can hide the defense. But when you're a big man, like you gotta be a good defender because you're so much more important than everybody else.
I mean, they have like an okay roster. I wonder if Simmons will take or Simons. I don't know. I think it's
Anthony
Simons.
Yeah,
Simons. Yeah.
That dude he's got some hops. He's a lot of fun to watch when he's in. But I wonder if he'll take the leap. Maybe become more of a guy that can play next to Dame, kind of like CJ McCollum did. But I don't know. I think Dame is good, but I think it takes him a game winner and a miracle to get out of the first round of the West. I kind of see that being his ceiling. Same with his team. I don't see them winning that many more games than they did last season. Around 35 is kind of where I see this team.
Worth noting, Damian Lillard, 32 years old. I think he'll be 33 at the start of the next season.
That's crazy.
Actually, no, he just turned 32. A small, undersized point guard who relied a lot on athleticism in his younger years. I think we're looking at the wheels coming off for Dame pretty soon.
But maybe I actually Modelo commercial.
I mean, he's made his money. I'm not going to hate on. I hope he's in commercials for the rest of his life.
Yeah. I mean, I love Dame, and I would like. They have gone to the Western Conference Finals twice with Dame. So as a Sixers fan, I would literally sell my soul to even make it to that far in the playoffs. Yeah. So, and I actually disagree about. I mean, obviously his best is behind him, but I don't think we're quite seeing the downfall yet. Because I mean, to me, that jump shot is going to last till he's 40. And he's never been in a George. Yeah. No, I mean insane. I mean like in general, his shot
in general. Yeah.
Like he's never been an above the rim player. Obviously, he relies on quickness, kind of like almost like James Harden, who was never. I was going to
say he's kind of similar to James Harden, where so much is relying on that first step.
Yeah. I mean that part is true, but I don't know. We'll see, because last year he seemed like legitimately injured, and there was like a torn abdomen, which sounds awful.
Sounds awful.
Sounds horrible, and like you could just tell that it was legitimately hobbling him. Someone that has that dog in him, I will give Dame that. Give Dame that.
Dame has no quit. I just, undersized point guard.
His body
on a team where they were never built to hide him defensively. We mentioned the CJ McCollum thing. Just a bad pairing, despite how good both those guys are. they do so many of the same things, and they had to try and put defenders around them, and they were so bad at it that it was like, here's an entire starting five of bad defenders, kind of like the Wizards in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like let's lose games.
They were
They
fun,
needed-
though. Yeah, the both of them would go back and forth a lot, though. That's how they won games. Is that like
Yeah,
you can't
yeah,
really
the
dial in
offensive
on
talent
Dame
was
or
there.
McCollum, and they would both just
And
light it up.
both
I mean, that's
very
why
good distributors, which you don't often see from that kind of shot makers.
I was anti them getting rid of CJ last year, and I thought that's kind of when this team like gave up, because you have to do something, but I don't think their team transformed enough after getting rid of. I think it was 1A, 1B. I think like Damian Lillard is obviously the guy there, but I think McCollum also would have like his own 28 points in those games where they're winning. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. He was definitely hurt. I was just going to note that he also looked like visibly hurt in the Olympics when they were playing. And I know
over the summer,
whether or not he was going to play or not. So definitely wanted that gold medal, but he did not look like the same player in international basketball then either.
Yeah,
where do you have them?
They
winning?
needed. Yeah, I had them going over.
Okay.
I mean, like they've only ever won games mostly with Dame. Last year was a down year, but they traded CJ and he was hurt for the half the year. So it almost like the Raptors year when they had the down year. Granted, they're not nearly as young and talented as the Raptors, so not a perfect comparison. But to me, I think that was a 1 year like blip more so than how they're actually going to be.
They'll come back,
yeah. And I mean, the West is so deep that which makes it tough. I could just see them being 500, which gets them the over.
It's funny you say that. I was going to say, if you could pick a team in the league to go 41 and 41 to go 500, I think my pick would be the Blazers.
Yeah.
They're not good. Yeah. They're not bad. They exist.
They're fine.
I think they're going to win some games against bad opponents. They're going to win some games against good opponents. And they're going to drop games that they shouldn't. And then they're going to drop games that they absolutely should. Like, they're not going to stun in any sort of way. I'm going to take the over just because it's at 39.5. I think they're probably going to be at 41 wins. And so they're going to very slightly hit that over. But just nothing about them really stands out to me. Like, unless they are a little bit ahead of schedule at the trade deadline and they can make some moves or something like that, I don't see this team contending.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. They're definitely not a contender, but I think they're a little bit better. Like Josh Hart is like, I feel like they have enough fine players to win enough games to be a fine team.
I absolutely think they're better than they were last year.
Yeah.
And with not even like very significant moves. I just think last year was kind of a cursed season for them. A lot of bad things happened and they made some moves halfway through. And CJ McCollum was a longtime member of that team and they lost him and they took their foot off the gas. Like, they were like, okay, this ship is sunk.
Yeah. I think, like, we'll have to see with Jeremy Grant. Like you said, if he wants to be the number one player. That's why he signed the deal with Detroit. He didn't care about winning. He just wanted to be the number one role, which is not his role. That's not what he's good at. He was perfect in that role.
Perfect
he was on
third option.
Yeah, he was so like that Denver team was perfect where he was. Like, hit threes when you need to, play good defense, be like he was good in transition. So we'll see what like, I mean, he's a good pair with Dame, I will say. I think he's a good pair with Dame, but we'll see if he's content being the not first option.
Yeah. All right, we've got 3 bad teams coming up, so we're not going to spend that much time on them. We're going to start with the bad, like the definitive bad team, I guess you could call them, the Sacramento Kings. Vegas has them at 33.5. Last year they went 30 and 52. Modi, first off, do you care? Second off, where do you have them on the over-under?
I mean, they're going under. I mean, it's like, I like De'Aaron Fox. I liked him more in the draft than what his career has turned into.
Yeah.
Sabonis is a fine regular season player. Sabonis, fine regular season player.
Sure.
But can we just talk about how dumb that trade was? Trading for
dumb.
Like,
you have a guy who wants to rebuild your
Halliburton.
culture and who wants to win there, and you trade him.
So for Sabonis, like for the most average player in the NBA,
I would honestly rather they have traded. Like, I'm not super high on either of them, but I would rather they have traded for Miles Turner than Sabonis if they were going to take a big man from the Pacers.
Yeah, I agree. Or trade Fox. Like, I guess Fox didn't have the trade value, which is what it came down to. But I mean, they needed to do something because with Fox, Davion Mitchell, and Halliburton, but just trade the expensive older one and build around the young guys. It's just so stupid. Anyway, they're going under. That's all I had to say. Was just to say how dumb that trade was.
Yeah, Dellavedova is the oldest guy on their squad.
I mean, he's got to be like 60, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was still in the league. Was he out of the league?
1990.
Beer pong legend, Dellavedova.
Yeah. 1990, did you say?
Yeah.
He's only 2 years older than us, and I just said he was 60.
I mean,
God, I'm old.
That's more. What
we're pretty much 60 at this point.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget how close in age we are to LeBron James. I always think of him being like old, and then I'm like, well, I guess he had just finished high school around the time that we started it.
Yeah, I hate that like you're watching a game and it's like, wow, this person's like 30 years old. It's a miracle he can get up and move. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like
That said, I get off the couch and my knees pop, and I'm like, yeah, that actually tracks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's just like,
All right, Ferentinos, Kings 33.5. You have the over or the under?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them winning more than that. I see like 30 games, but looking at the roster, like I don't know, like this team could be like decently average. I mean, like, so Darren
Decently
Fox, Sabonis,
average is what we're shooting for.
Harrison Barnes, like Kevin Herter, like they have Malik Monk, like those are all guys where if you put them on better teams as their like third, fourth option, you're like, oh, this team has a shot. And they're all like, the Kings are like a collection of third and fourth options, I guess.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, it's kind of like what last year's Wiz were with Bradley Beal being hurt. It was a bunch of third option guys. You're going to win between 30 and 35 games doing something like that. There's a reason why first and second option players get paid the way they do, because not everybody can do that. Like,
they're
to
one
be
of
a
those
high
teams where
usage
it's
guy.
like, oh, you're going to see them play basketball where like the point guard brings it up and the shooting guard has to shoot.
Yeah.
So you're like, who the hell is this like playmaker on this team? Like what's the identity on this team?
Yeah, right. Are we going to ask Harrison Barnes and his like 3 assists per game to distribute the ball? No, we're probably not, even though he's maybe their best player. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe Sabonis, maybe Fox.
Yeah.
Who's their best player?
I mean, I still have hopes for Fox, but that's more hopes than something that he's actually done. I do think they should have drafted Jaden Ivey. I was a huge Jaden Ivey guy in the draft. I feel like they kind of, it's like the typical Kings thing where Ivey didn't want to go there. So they're like, well, we actually don't want you. Like, we're actually going to draft Marvin Bagley because he wants to go here.
You can't quit. You're fired.
Exactly.
Nice moral victory.
Yeah. So like, it's like, if you don't want to go to the Kings, just say you don't want to. And they'll be like, well, we actually didn't want you anyways, LeBron James. Like we'd rather have I forget whoever the Pistons
Though
got.
I would really enjoy him on
Darko,
the Kings, just because.
Darko Milicic, yeah.
Or we didn't want you, Luka Doncic.
Yeah. I'm going to take the under for the Kings. I'm going to say they're going to have the exact same record as last year. They're going to go 30-52. If you put a gun to my head and said, what's the Kings record going to be every year from now until the heat death of the universe, I would tell you 30-52. Like, they're not going to be so bad that they get the number 1 pick, but they're also not going to be good enough to like be an NBA team. So if teams could get relegated, the Kings would be 3 divisions down at this
was the Premier League.
Yeah.
So has there not another team in like Florida that the Kings could just go to? Like,
Seattle.
Put them in the G League. Bring up the G League Ignite and push the Kings down.
Wait, Ferentinos, did you go over or under?
I went under.
He went under.
Okay. Okay.
I think you also said 30 wins, I think.
I did.
Did we all go under on this one?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right.
Another agree.
Let's go. It's going to be really embarrassing if we get any of the ones that we all agree on wrong. Next up, the San Antonio Spurs at 22.5. The 2021 record was 30-52, the same as the Kings. Ferentinos, you taking the over or are you taking the under?
Yeah,
according to the strength of schedule that we put up there, they have the hardest schedule in the league. Again, part of that is because they cannot play themselves. But I think I remember the Spurs also have one of the harder travel schedules in the league in terms of how far they have to go to get to everybody except the other 2 Texas teams. So that's, or 3 Texas teams.
Yeah. And what I will say about the strength of schedule, it takes into account like travel and rest days in teams that you're playing off of rest days as well. So it's a little more than just projected record or previous record, stuff like that.
I mean, I'm just going to try to go through and say the names of these people kind of before I...
Is this going to get racist?
Blake Weasley, Tommy Kelsey, Joe Wieskamp, Elise Johnson, who I know, Jordan Hall, Gorgie Dang, Dominic Barlow.
You know Gorgie Dang?
Yeah, you know Gorgie
Dang. Branham, Jeremy Sachin, Isaiah Roby, Keldon Johnson, Kata
You know
Bates,
Isaiah Roby too. You should recognize Isaiah Roby.
I see Doug McDermott, I know, but like,
of course,
I see a lot of these guys.
Jacob Pirtle, you know.
Jakob Pertl, have some respect.
Sorry, yeah, Jakob Pertl, excuse me. I'm reading his name, and that's
Romeo
what happens when I
Langdon.
read it.
I don't see this team exactly causing waves. I see them going under, and it's 22.5.
They literally hired Brett Brown because they're doing the process. Like, hey, remember all those years you lost in Philly? Guess what? You're gonna do it again in San Antonio.
Yeah, have a great
rough.
time doing that.
Yeah. And the only guy that they had, Murray, who's on the Hawks now and is kind of an asshole, you're finding out after all the videos of him playing basketball in the off season. But I mean, he was their most exciting player. Yeah.
Yeah, the Spurs kind of like, like the Patriots or something like that, or University of Florida during their prime years of football, really good at hiding guys' character flaws.
Yeah.
He seems like kind of a dick. We talked about that, I think, on the first episode.
Yeah.
What's your over under? You said you took the under for 22.5. You took the under?
Yeah.
Oh, they're going. Yeah, they're absolutely.
I might too. I think they might go in teams. They might win 17 games.
They're not trying.
I'm gonna say 7, and I wouldn't have been shocked.
Yeah, they're gonna go 10-7. They're gonna go 10-72. They're gonna be one of those.
Oh my god! See, the only problem I have with that is that, and it's not really the case anymore. Like, it's just developmental shit. There used to be like a guaranteed 10 wins just by Pop being your coach. Like, if you were a 42-win team, he had you as a 52-win team. And I just don't know if that's true anymore. I think we're talking about retirement coming.
Sadly, not the case anymore.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take the under as well. I think we're all kind of on the same page on that one.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that Pop is willing to stick around for a rebuild. You thought like he's older. He's obviously
the rumor is that he was planning on retiring before he lost his wife, and since that happened, he's just thrown himself, further into work. So
I mean,
now it's like you just retire by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's very morbid and sad to think about. I didn't know that part of it, which is fair, I guess.
It's the rumor from execs around the league is that there was rumblings of him retiring, and then she passed away, and then those rumblings kind of went away for a couple of years.
He should run for president.
I mean,
love me some Pop.
I hope he doesn't run for president, because I don't know if you've checked his age recently, but it's not young, and I'm tired of these old dudes running this country.
I mean, fair. I have a lot of respect on his views towards things. Although one thing that made me so annoyed, this was back when Ben Simmons was on the Sixers. They asked him about, like, of course, Ben Simmons jump shot. And he was like, of course he'd be better if he could shoot, but like, who gives a damn? He's already so good. And I'm like, right. We shouldn't want to get better as human beings.
Sure. To be fair, his relationship with the media. I mean,
I know.
He just hates all. He's a snarkier, slightly nicer, more likable version of Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I realize I just had 3 different things that all make Pop sound way better, because Pop is way better. But yeah, I mean, they're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. Back to the president talk. I would appreciate a Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich ticket. I think would do wonders for this country.
Throw up the Greg Popovich thumbs up meme right now. I'd be down with that.
Part of me kind of wants to see Stephen A. run as a Democrat and Skip run as a Republican. Just have first take like our presidential election.
I think Skip Bayless would be the more interesting president. I might have to vote Republican. Stephen A's just gonna scream at me the whole time. Like, I scream at myself enough.
Stay off the weed.
All right, let's hit the last team, the Utah Jazz. Who
we'll probably spend the longest time talking about the Jazz. A lot to dig into here.
Yeah, so much to dig into. I want to say, prior to today's trade, FanDuel had them at 30.5. After the trade, they now have them at 26.5. So they're assigning essentially 4 wins right there. Not just 4 wins to Mitchell, but even with the players they got back, they still have them 4 wins lower. So they're expecting this team to bottom out. Modi, I know you've got a lot of thoughts on the Jazz. We'll have you go first. Just a reminder, last year's schedule, they won 49 and 33. They won 49 and 33. They're going to be nowhere near that. They're a very different roster.
Yeah, I mean, under. Like, 4 wins is not enough with the loss of Donovan Mitchell. And like, again, the team not attempting to win. They're doing the Danny Ainge tank job.
They're not picks between Rudy and Spider now. Like, it's insane.
They've got 8 first round picks in the next 4 years between those two guys.
Yeah. They got basically
5 from Gobert
and 3 from the Cavs.
And then also the pick swaps for Mitchell. I don't remember if there were any pick swaps for Gobert.
Yeah, I
Ronnie
don't.
Jr. and and Bryce.
If
Maybe. I honestly think if there's a team, but here's the thing: D Wade owns part of the Jazz,
Oh yeah.
so maybe LeBron
Is
would
that
consider
here?
it.
But like,
Oh, yeah.
then like, you think LeBron's gonna want to play for those like racist ass fans in Utah?
He just go hang out with D Wade all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's the D Wade element is interesting, which also is like, why of all the teams would D Wade have partial ownership in the Jazz? That's what
The Heat said no, and I don't think that many other teams were looking to sell.
So he just said, screw it.
Yeah, let me just go for the team that everyone hates.
Yeah,
They must
I mean,
cost the least. They probably cost the least, honestly.
yeah, I mean the Kings. If we were to come up with a list of the least profitable teams, probably them too.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of guys that wear button-down shirts and their Utah Jazz jersey over that go to those games.
yeah, a lot of very
Jazz.
similar looking guys.
Yeah,
Which is
Haircuts.
rich coming from three white men, but it is what it is.
yeah. Anyways,
you're taking the under, Modai?
Under. I'm hammering that under.
Yeah,
Okay.
even
Ooh,
with the
hammering
second,
it.
even with the second easiest schedule, this is a hammer myself. I think, yeah, not just a take in the under. It's a hammer.
It's a
My
Hulk
God.
smash.
It's like Lana Rhodes is in the room with us. I'm also hammering this one. I'm taking the under. We're all on the same page.
We're tag teaming this under
26.5. I think this line is actually honestly probably going to adjust a lot over the
It's
next
gonna go
month.
lower.
I think it's going to go lower. I think they're probably going to finish like 22.5, probably around where the Spurs are.
I was just going to say that.
Might take the under on that. I mean, they got decent players back. I'm not going to say like the team is like garbage, but they're not trying to win is the major thing.
They're going
to play bad lineups to lose games.
Yeah, they're going to have a like a yard sale, garage sale, whatever you want to call it, with the players remaining on their roster, like but like Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson, who is I guess probably Conley. I don't know who's going to want him. But yeah, they're going to,
at this point in his age, probably not.
Yeah, I mean they might have to pay to get off that, which they wouldn't do. So who knows? But either way, I mean I think it's obviously not the last sell we'll see from the Jazz.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll get a Instagram graphic up of all of these, of kind of where we fell on everything. Hopefully you guys remember where you fell on everything. I definitely did not write mine down ahead of time, so I'm gonna have to remind myself. But we'll get some stuff up on Instagram and Twitter on where we fall on this. We'll be back next week to do the Eastern Conference. If you're watching this, it doesn't really matter that much, but I'm probably going to split this into two parts just because of how long this episode's going to go or has gone. Ferentinos, Modai, great episode. Thank you guys for taking the time. I know this was a long one. Anything you guys want to say before we get out of here?
I would like to plant my flag that I still think Durant gets traded. I meant to mention this during the Suns part.
Okay.
I think my conspiracy theory is he didn't want to pull a Ben Simmons and miss the year. The Nets were like, dude, we're just not getting the Timberwolves broke the trade market, giving 5 picks for Rudy Gobert. So I think they're going to wait until all the contracts signed in free agency, including DeAndre Ayton, and think he's eligible to be traded in January. And I think he still gets traded.
I don't hate that theory. I think there's definitely an element of we've crushed this guy's value. He's crushed his own value. Let's let it rebound a little bit, and then let's see what the market looks like.
He's going to play. He's going to be incredible. And then people are going to forget what happened in the offseason.
Yeah, very short-term memory in sports. And
so
a team is going to see him drop 35 and win a game and hit a game winner, and they're going to be like, we need that guy on our roster. He's the one that's going to take us over the edge. And they might very well be right.
Yeah, I was going to say they could be right. So, Ferentinos, I apologize for that. I meant to mention it during the Suns
You're
part.
You're going to get some trade assets. You're going to get some draft picks.
I kind of agree, though, the way that, like, literally, I mean, the news is one thing or the other. It's, oh, the Nets are all in. It's, oh, Kyrie's going to get a vaccine. Oh, he's not going to get a vaccine. Oh, like, Katie, Harden, and Kyrie are all signing extensions. Oh, no one's signing an extension. It's literally just day in and day out. Things just flip on their head. So, I mean,
now you know what it's like to be a Lakers fan.
Yeah. But I'm here for it. I was gonna say I think 2 modern animes, Moda, you want to get into both on Netflix, Demon Slayer and Vinland Saga.
Both good recommendations. I'm not this Demon Slayer fan that he is. Both beautiful to look at.
As far as like
but
modern animes, those
I would say get through some of the older stuff first, because it can be a little bit jarring to go back to older stuff once you. Same reason why I recommend if somebody's trying to get an anime, like go watch the old Gundam stuff. Like really, really well done shit. Does not look good right now. Like it's the art is pretty, but the animation is bad. So like definitely revisit old shit. Go watch Yu Yu Hakusho if you've never watched it before you watch
great one.
before you watch Hunter x Hunter or Jujutsu Kaisen, because they have so many influences from Yu Yu Hakusho. It's one of the best shows of all time, but you can feel the age a little bit.
Yeah. So my anime journey started recently.
Sure.
Like past 3 years.
Many people during COVID got very into anime.
It was actually right. It was like right before COVID. It was like the end of 2019. So I've watched Full Metal, which I think is my favorite. Absolutely love it.
Full Metal, the original, or Full Metal Brotherhood?
Brotherhood.
Okay. I would recommend watching the original, knowing that it's very different, but Brotherhood is probably the better show. Okay.
That was incredible. Obviously, I watched Shippuden. I have seen the first season of JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Love it.
So very good.
So
I didn't watch the movie, which I wanted to see, but
it'll be on Crunchyroll next month. It'll be
okay.
Yeah.
Gojo is the boy.
Gojo, yeah.
Like all shonens, the way Griffin's talk about it too, like they're all so similar. Like there's always a really cool dude with white hair in every single.
It's Kakashi. Like, he's Kakashi.
I was just going to say
always wildly attractive. Like as a
striking blue eyes.
I'm not even going to say as a straight man, but as a human being who likes other human beings, they make these people so aesthetically beautiful that it's like, I wish you were real. I would do anything for you if you were real.
So the scene Modai with when he does the domain expansion and shows Yuji the first time is like maybe my favorite episode of
it was bad. Yeah, that was
very
awesome.
cool.
When he's just watching the movies and then he just pulls them, that's great. Yeah. But the movie, the character that they introduced, Jujutsu Kaisen is interesting because they have like a few different protagonists, I think, and like this is a whole new protagonist to Itadori. They like go a little bit. It's like kind of right before that, but
they mention him in the show. They do mention that he's off somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it? Yuta and then Rika is the.
I'm horrible with names. It took me like starting Shippuden to understand the names from Naruto.
Yeah. But it's cool. It was the first like anime, like real anime that I watched in theaters, and it was so worth it. It was actually a packed theater in DC. I was surprised when I went and it was packed.
I believe it. Yeah, I mean the animation is incredible for JJK.
Incredibly beautiful show.
Yeah, I've watched Death Note, which I liked. I just finished Code Geass.
Nice.
And then not an anime, but Avatar: The Last Airbender. Obviously, I've watched
very anime influenced. Very anime influenced, but American. Yeah, we can talk about Avatar for days. Let's call this one here. We'll talk about it a little bit. We'll see where you're at with Bleach next week when we start the episode. Maybe if you watch anything else, we'll talk about it. And we'll get to the Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference, yeah.
Eastern Conference and hentai next week.
Jesus Christ. On that note, you guys have a great one. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and on Instagram at GiveGo and make sure if you have not done so already, click that like button, click that subscribe button, make our week. We will see you next time. Give and Go Show signing out.
Peace.
Peace.